In this video, we're going to make a pendant. It will take a few different steps to do. We have to lay out the gems, get prongs out there, and put some under bezels out there as well. So first thing to do, to get the gems out there, we need a curve to work with. So I'm just going to go in to Interp Curve and lay that out. Then I'm going to highlight that, hit F6, and we're going into gemsoncurve. Now it's going to place these preview gems using the default setting here of F4, meaning that it's trying to point the QLets of those gems to F4 the best that it can. Well, we don't want that anyway. We want those to face down. So we're going to click on this option to push them down. Now we can run these down like so. And obviously the tapered gems option here is on, which is great. Right now they're all the same size, but since it is on, we could take one end or the other and change the size. So it's going to change the size of the gem on the end and then just vary the size to taper down to the original. Okay, we'll press enter. We'll be sure to job bag that before we go on. Now, when you do gem on curve, or gems on curve rather, it's always going to have these gems grouped up. So when I click on one, the whole thing highlights. That's okay for now, especially for what we're going to do next is prongs. So we'll hit F6 and we'll start up the prongs. All right, and it's going to start up knowing that these are tapered gems. Now, with prongs, the first option to really consider here is gem flow versus gem north. Gem flow is defaulting to on, which is actually very good for this situation because gem flow is the best option for gems in a row. So we're going to take these prongs and just make sure that our smallest prong size, which is down here, is what we want it to be. And the largest down here is what we want it to be. Okay, then of course we have our different, our taper and our nudge. And so forth. Now, before we get out of this though, let's look at how far down those are. Those are actually a good height. If you're looking at the end of the smallest gem here, those are getting pretty tall. Now we're going to take care of that. But when you're dropping these prongs down, you want to be sure that they're being dropped down long enough for the largest gem, not the smallest. All right, we'll press enter to accept that. And be sure to job bag that. Now we want to create under bezels for these, but we have to create under bezels one at a time, or at least at first. So we're going to have to ungroup these gems. So we'll go to Utilities, Ungroup. We're going to grab all those gems and press enter. Now I should be able to take just one gem, go over to the setting menu, and open up the Bezel Builder. And when I put that in, it's going to start building a standard bezel for me. This builder has 3 modes to it: the standard bezel, under bezel, and gallery. So we're going to start off with just working in the Bezel Builder. Seems to work best if you just start it with Bezel Builder and just run a slider or two. And then we'll go over and switch it over to under bezel. And it picks up the characteristics it needs to make your under bezel. Okay, there's a bezel placement, and we're just going to grab that and drop that down a little bit. Okay, we want to be sure that this bezel is plenty long enough. Now we're using the smallest gem in the line. You want to be sure that you do use the smallest gem that is being having bezels created for. Just because if you start with the largest one, you may end up closing this hole up on accident by the time you're done. I'll show you what I mean. So we get it where we think we need it, just roughly speaking. We'll press enter. All right, that'll work. We're going to take care of the bottom here in a minute. So now I want to basically copy that under bezel to the rest of the gems. So I'm going to grab all of the gems. So I'll right click on the gem layer color swatch, and then I'll hold down Control and click on the smallest gem to deselect that one. Then I can hit F6 and go Match Attributes. It's going to ask me, select the objects to take the style sheet from. Well, that would be the gem, F6, Match Attributes. Select objects to take the style sheet from. I'm going to click on the gem, and I'm going to click on Bezel and Create Styles. And now it copied that under bezel all the way through for me. Now the varying heights that we have here, we're going to take care of that in just a minute. We're going to job bag that. Then we're going to go into the setting mode, or excuse me, the cutters, and plane and cube cutters. And I'm going to grab the Z half cube cutter right here. And it's going to throw a nice large cube out there for me. In the through finger viewport then, I am going to switch it over to ghosted. So if I go to the shade mode and I hit the ghosted button, now I can see through this cube, so I can see where I'm going with this. I want to hold down Shift and drag that cube down to where I want it to cut through those bezels and prongs. Then I can go into the Boolean Builder, which is found under the Cutters menu as well here. And I'm going to take everything that is on the heads layer, so I'll right click on there, put that into the Boolean Builder, put in the cube as the cutter. We're going to do a Boolean difference, 1 by 1, do Boolean. There we go. Now that we did that, we have all those bezels and prongs match perfectly underneath.